Welcome back to the news at 10. The police in Kogi State are investigating a rape allegation against the State Commissioner for Water Resources, Abdul Mumin Daga, by a lady identified as Elizabeth Oyini. The investigation is coming shortly after the Kogi State Governor, Yahya Bello, ordered a probe into what played out between the State Commissioner and the lady who's said to be a beauty queen. The commissioner allegedly assaulted Mrs. Oyini after unsavory comments about the commissioner on her Facebook page, following which she was allegedly abducted from Okene to Lokoja alongside her son and sister, allegedly on the orders of the commissioner, where she was beaten, stripped, shot on video, and allegedly raped by the commissioner. Now, while the commissioner has reportedly denied the allegations, the victim says she does not feel safe anymore and she's asking the authorities to bring the commissioner to justice. Meanwhile, unconfirmed reports say the commissioner has been suspended by the state government. To a look at what's going on with COVID again as it ravages countries around the world, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has directed all its missions abroad to compile a list of Nigerians who are willing to come back home. The chairman of Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, Abike Dabre-Erewa, says the directive by the ministry is sequel to requests by some Nigerians stranded abroad in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. Mrs. Dabre-Erewa adds that the ministry has instructed that the financial implications will be borne by the prospective evacuees who will be compulsorily quarantined when they return. She also said interested citizens should inform the embassy in their countries of residence about their intention to return to Nigeria. Let's take a look at some business news now, and here's Teniola Shobowale.
Banking, so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Hello and welcome to Business News. The Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries will meet on Monday with Russia and other oil producers amid optimism of reaching a supply cuts deal and ending a brutal price war. The emergency meeting, which is called by Saudi Arabia, will be held via video conference and will include oil producers from outside the OPEC, plus alliance that includes Russia and a few other countries. The meeting comes after US President Donald Trump suggested that massive production cuts could be on the way, and Saudi Arabia called for an urgent effort to restore balance to the oil market. Meanwhile, oil prices have continued to advance after US President Donald Trump tweeted that he expects both Saudi and Russia to cut output by between 10 million and 15 million barrels per day. The coronavirus pandemic has created an economic crisis much worse than the 2008 global financial crisis. That's according to the managing director of the International Monetary Fund, Kristalina Georgieva. Speaking at a news conference in Geneva, Georgieva, however, says the IMF is working with the World Bank and other international financial institutions to reduce the economic fallout from the COVID-19 outbreak. She hints that the IMF has a $1 trillion war chest and is determined to use as much of it as necessary, while more than 90 countries so far have applied for assistance from those funds. Let's take a look at the Nigerian stock market today. Here's Bisi Adebayo.
Welcome to the stock market reports. The positive sentiment seen at the Nigerian stock market on Thursday was short-lived as the all-share index shed 0.11% and the equity cap returned to the 10 trillion naira level. Friday's losses were largely due to declines in the share price of Dangote Cement and MTN Nigeria. Well, three of the major sectors we track closed the day negative, while the banking and oil and gas closed positive. Of course, there was some activity in the oil and gas counter today, and that index rose 0.54% as Brent crude rose above $30 a barrel. Our total volume of deals traded today were lower compared to Thursday's session as 235.29 million shares was 2.97 billion naira were traded in 3,988 deals. FVN Holdings was the most traded stock by volume, while GT Bank was the most traded by value. Now, these are the top 3 gainers and losers for the day. And that's it on the stock market reports. I am BC Adebayo.
Well, major stock markets around the world also ended Friday's session mostly lower as Eurozone business activity plunges to record low, while and that's business news tonight. It's back to you, Ijoma.
Banking, so easy, so simple. Dial star 894 hash now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
This is Channels Television's breaking news.
We have the very latest now. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control confirms 20 new cases of COVID-19 in Nigeria. 11 of them are here in Lagos State, 3 in Abuja, 3 in Edo, 2 in Osun, and 1 in Ondo State. Again, just to bring you up to speed with the figures that we're getting from the NCDC, they've confirmed 20 new cases of COVID-19 in Nigeria. 11 of them are here in Lagos, 3 in Abuja, 3 more in Edo State, 2 in Osun, and 1 in Ondo State. We'll continue to keep our eye on it, and when we know more, you will also. Now we move on. Well, more donors are lending support to the efforts of governments. 2 leading indigenous oil and gas companies, Seplat Petroleum Development Company and Walter Smith Petroman Oil Limited, have donated medical items worth millions of naira to the Imo State government to help combat COVID-19. While receiving the medical items at the government house in Owerri, the state government described the gesture as a supportive one.
Imo State in Nigeria's southeast is yet to record any case of the coronavirus. But in spite of this, the state government is taking precautionary measures in the event of an outbreak. These efforts by the state government is getting a boost as 2 leading indigenous oil and gas companies, Seplat Petroleum Development Company and Walter Smith Petroman Oil Limited, are donating medical equipment to support in containing the disease. Items being donated include protective gear, motorized and knapsack sprayers, hand sanitizers, face masks, gloves, fumigating machines, chemicals, and many more. The state governor, Hope Uzodimma, and his team are thrilled by the show of support.
This will go a long way in helping address the situation we find ourselves. The people of Imo State are indeed challenged, not only because of the paucity of funds at our disposal, also because the tax or what it will require to address this situation is also very huge.
This is going to help us, and we can assure you that we're going to distribute all this to all the people, the hospitals, disinfect them, and give people to make sure that people prevent this pandemic from coming into our state.
Anybody who thinks he loves Imo State, anybody who thinks he's a friend of Imo State, this is the time for you to come. And I'm glad that Seplat and Walter Smith have answered our call for help. We are not being arrogant, we are not being proud, we don't have it.
For the donors, the act of solidarity is a way of fulfilling their corporate social responsibilities.
You know, Walter Smith as a company, we are more interested in the lives of a host community than the oil we get from this area. And it's part of our corporate social responsibility.
We are part of the society, and we know that worldwide this COVID-19 pandemic is what is that's what is really being discussed everywhere. So Seplat felt that they should show that they are a responsible corporate citizen.
Seplat Petroleum Development Company and Waltham Smith Petroleum Oil Limited are among the first set of companies to heed to the clarion call of the state government for support.
Funtuna Ventures, a subsidiary of Animal Care Services, is also donating relief materials to the Lagos State government to help fight the COVID-19 pandemic. The executive director of Funtuna Ventures and Animal Care Services Consult, Cholu Olumide, says 9,600 eggs as well as 10,000 bottles of Funtuna water are being supplied to the state government in 2 installments.
A truckload of relief materials by agro-allied company Funtuna Ventures at the Agege area of Lagos, part of the efforts to support the Lagos State government in alleviating the suffering of the residents of the state following the lockdown. Funtuna Ventures, which is a subsidiary of Animal Care Services Consult, says the gesture is part of the organization's response to the plight of the needy.
We also recognize that this is not just a health crisis, but it's actually a global economic crisis impacting people all over the world and including people in our local communities directly. In light of this, we as Animal Care would like to pledge our support to the government of Nigeria and in particular the government of Lagos State in your valiant efforts to actually help to alleviate the sufferings of the local community during this time. And we will be supplying the government with 1,000 freshly dressed chickens to be delivered in 2 installments, as well as 10,000 bottles of 60 cl Funtuna water, 600 bottles of our family-sized 3-liter bottles, and 9,600 eggs, that is 320 crates of eggs, for distribution to people as needed who are in need of it. Please, let's all endeavor to continue to follow the recommended hygiene requirements that the government has, told us to do, and also social distancing recommendations.
The items are handed over to the government. The Commissioner for Agriculture thanked the organization for the gesture.
On behalf of the Lagos State Governor, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, I want to thank Funtuna Foods, Animal Care, for this donation. And I want to assure Lagosians that we will be accountable to all what we have collected, and we will make sure we distribute to the needy.
Funtuna Ventures says it is ready to do more in supporting the state government in the fight against the coronavirus pandemic through the supply of commercial poultry, livestock feed milling, aquaculture, procurement and distribution of animal health products, and technical laboratory services, which all make up its core services.
Still ahead on the news at 10, as the battle against COVID-19 continues, UK Health Secretary calls for more clinical trial volunteers as 4,000 capacity hospital opens in London. Plus more news from our London studios in Around the World in 5. Do stay with us.